Okay, so we're going to get started here in just a second. I'm going to minimize my screen so that we can get to the PowerPoint that we have here for today. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the concept of taking ownership and creating ownership in an organization. And, we start off with this idea that mindset is key to success. And when we're building championship organizations of people that we can depend on, we have to make sure that they're folks that are like-minded, that they're really willing to take ownership and go where we need them to go for them to be more valuable and for our organizations to achieve at a higher level. And obviously, and very importantly, the most important part of people achieving at a high level is number one, they've got to understand the expectations. Now, expectation breaks down into two pieces. It's expectations, which would be the individual tasks, responsibilities, etc., that we have for a role. But then there's the singular form of that word, which is expectation. And that expectation is we really want people to progress very rapidly into an ownership role, meaning owning whatever part of the business it is that we're going to have them be responsible for. It could be ownership of cleaning the janitor's closet. It could be ownership of legal briefings. It could be ownership of research. It could be ownership of making copies. But whatever it is, we've got to clearly define our expectations, the individual tasks, and then clearly define our expectation and gain their agreement that they're willing to take ownership. Now, before people can take ownership, they also have to have the tools and the training. And that's on us as leaders to make sure that all that's in place. So we've clearly identified expectations in writing. We've clearly identified the expectation that we want them to progress to a level of ownership. We've given them the tools, verified with them that these are the tools that they need and they don't need anything else. We've given them the training. We've observed them do what it is that we need them to do and given them an opportunity to ask questions. And then lastly is the coaching and accountability. And this is where we as leaders sometimes fall down. We want to make sure as leaders that we are always that we have a weekly or daily one-to-one with key people about performance. And that meeting or that time that we're going to coach them, help them, and kind of check in on progress, most of the time it's going to be the same. So the way that you get there is you think about and answer this question. In order for me to turn over ownership of this part of our business to you, here are the 4 or 5 things that I've got to know that you have a handle on. And it might be a little bit more than 5, probably shouldn't be more than 10. And line those out. Actually literally make a list of what your repetitive meeting schedule and the topics of those meetings are going to be. Now, it should be something general like specific outcomes that they're responsible for managing or attaining. And then there should also be some time set aside for things that come up and things that will be addressed and then followed up on the next time you get together, right? So what we do is we've now set the table for someone to be in a position to take ownership. And then I like to share this little PowerPoint slide. You'll notice here that right in the middle, there is a point that's going to pop up here in a second. Let's see real quick. All right, so right in the center here, we have this thing called the point, okay? And the question that we always want to ask ourselves, and the way that we want to teach our team, is we want to ask ourselves, are they below the point where they are blaming, using excuses, or denying that a problem exists? Or are they taking ownership accountability, and responsibility. Now, um, above the point are things that empower people, right? So if someone is first able to be responsible, yes, I am responsible for this area. Once they become responsible for a level or an area of performance within a business, then they can also be held accountable. But if they aren't willing to take responsibility, then accountability isn't the issue. We've got to make sure that people buy into, yes, I am willing to be responsible for this. And then as their leader or their mentor or their coach, our job is to then hold them accountable. And accountability isn't a complaint session. Accountability is helping them remain responsible, and checking in and making sure that they have the tools to be responsible. So then once someone agrees to be responsible, they agree to be held accountable, coached, and supported, then they can truly take ownership of a responsibility. And the ideas that I shared with you a few minutes ago are some of the ideas that help make that happen. When we don't have that, then we have people who will blame others first. First thing to do is to blame. Well, they blame it on others or they blame it on circumstances, or they make excuses. Yeah, oh, I know, I meant to do that, but X got in the way. It's another form of blame. Or denial is even worse. They just deny that it's their responsibility, deny that it happened, what have you. And obviously, those are not empowering things that happen in an organization. So I think it's really important and helpful to share this little piece of a PowerPoint with a team. And then there's the next slide. Let me see if I can pull that up here. The next slide is, most business owners really run themselves crazy because they try to be the business owner, they try to keep the team happy, they try to keep the customers happy, and they try to make the business work. And we always say as your coach, we can help you build your team. Well, the thing that you got to realize as the business owner is that your role really is to build your organization so that you're really just taking care of the team. The team takes care of the customers. And then you have enough business so that you're really a business owner's primary responsibility is the team and then also the business, not so much direct work with customers. Now, there's some types of roles where that's not possible because you're going to be involved for a little while. But remember, our first responsibility is as we're in the middle running back and forth, taking care of customers in the business. The only way we get out of this loop is to start to build our team members up. So that gets back to this. And this is how we build up our team members is we teach them, we give them the tools that they need so they can be responsible, the training they need to be responsible. We hold them accountable, give them feedback so they can take ownership. And look, champions and great people do occasionally use blame, excuses, and denial. But when they do that, if you've shared this concept with your team, which I recommend that you do, all you need to do is ask your team or ask the person involved, well, let's take a look at this from an ownership, accountability, and responsibility standpoint. To what degree of this challenge that we're running into, fill in the blank, where is your responsibility in this? And then help me understand what my responsibility is as the leader to help you to help you navigate through some of the other areas, which might be where they're giving you blame, excuses, or denial. When people come to me with blame, excuses, or denial, I'll immediately go back to, okay, so I understand and I hear you that you had this challenge, but what could you do to take responsibility? What could you do to take ownership? Or what might you have done differently? Or might you do differently next time? What resources could you have sought? What input, what tools were at your disposal? And just brainstorm with them until they solve their own problem. And then eventually they'll realize they had more responsibility. There were tools, resources probably at their disposal that they chose not to use. And this will be a continued coaching cycle. You just can't let people live down here. Winners, when they fall below the point, they bounce very quickly. Losers and people who aren't a good fit for your organization's success long-term, they live right here at the point or below it most of the time. And as soon as you determine that somebody lives down here, you gotta figure out how to get them out of your organization or get them a major life change, because this low energy is going to drag everybody else down. So hopefully that's helpful, and that helps you understand a little bit about how to create an organization that takes ownership, accountability, and responsibility, and lives, plays, and wins above the point of power. Mike Cooper signing off with Action Coach. Have a great day.